Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 7th and 8th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam! Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello there, Internet. Welcome to That Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I'm joined by Aaron Humphreys.
Hello.
I know that guy.
I am him.
Yes. And Jose Fuentes.
I definitely know that guy.
Yes.
That guy's a punk.
I heard that too.
What was that?
I said I heard that too.
Well, we are at Silverline Show on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about the importance of character design today.
It's not really that important.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining the show.
Yes. Exactly. We'll see you next week.
Right. Have a good night.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be getting into that here in a little bit. I don't think we have anything we need to promote officially, so we'll just go ahead and do our normal things. Do either of you have any upcoming conventions, own projects, anything like that you want to promote?
And then he just left us. Cool. Okay.
I know. It's like that, huh?
Yeah, I know. Go figure. It can only take so much of me. I know I'm going to the Comic-Con in Salem. I think that's in June sometime. Fact, I think it's
All right, there you go. That's weird.
Ask us if we have any conventions and just run. We get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of StreamYard for a couple reasons.
June 3rd and June 4th in Salem of this year is the Mid-Valley Comic-Con Art Expo, and I should be selling my stuff there.
Is that the one that Tim didn't know about?
Yes.
Yeah, he knows about now.
Yeah, I'll not be tabling there, but I will be walking around. So you can, if you're in the Oregon area, you can stop by and say hi to both of us.
He'll probably just jump me or something and start throwing things in my head.
I'll be in the Oregon area.
There you go. Yeah, next year we had Jose out here. He can crash in my garage or something. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, we do have a
yes.
Kickstarter going.
We do.
Not until tomorrow, right?
It was actually quietly launched. I didn't even realize it was launched. Go figure, right?
It's the official, unofficial announcement.
Like that.
Yeah, it's the official. Yeah, so it is Cape Town #1 and Fire Rush #3.
Okay, let me get that pulled up here, and we'll get it shared on the screen. Oh my god! Come on.
All right.
Weird thing, if you just type in Cape Town and Kickstarter, it's going to get a bunch of stuff in South Africa.
That is
Okay.
awkward.
Unless,
Clear your
Why is
browser
it-
history, Tim.
well, that's weird. Let me go to my email. It
There we go.
said,
I have it. Present.
yeah.
All right, we have Cape Town #1, Fire Rush 1 through 3. Currently on Kickstarter. The goal is $1,800. We're at $644.
Mhm.
18 days to go. So we got
Fire Rush is the last of that series. So if you get number 3, that finishes up, and Cape Town is number 1. I think of 4 issues, but I'm not certain of that.
I believe so. Let's see here. Also written
Two
by
comics this time.
2 comics this
Like
time.
last time, and I think we're sticking to the sort of 2 comic scenario. We did one where we did 3 or 4, and I don't think we're doing that anymore.
We did 3 when we did obsoletes.
There.
Okay.
Yes, if you go there back now, you will get 2 comics at the bare minimum. You can, of course, get the entire collection of Fire Rush.
And then there's tons of back issues. We have Cat and Mouse, Beyond the Stars. You can catch up with some Trumps, which is the series is done.
Mhm.
I think issue 4 is printed or coming out soon. And Twilight Grimm is a great series. That's all done. White Devils, Wolf Hunter. That one, that comic sucks.
Okay.
So sorry, that
I
one.
heard
I'm
the
sorry.
writer is obsessed with historical settings.
And then the Obsoletes comic is the best one on there. That's probably, in fact, I
Yes.
think we should just probably take all the other ones off and just make that
Just do obsolete.
There you
only
go,
one.
yes.
Just
Yeah.
the only one on there. Like every time you click on any of the comics, it just goes to
It's
obsolete.
only
There's no-
obsolete.
it's the same link all the time.
All right.
Apparently, we make comic books there or something. Who knew?
Right. There you go.
That's not what I tell people. I
Go
tell
on.
people I draw pretty pictures for a living.
Well, that's a lie.
I get to sit on my butt and draw pretty pictures. No,
There
it
you go.
works.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our ongoing Kickstarter. Jose, did you have any conventions you needed to shout out, or was that when I was away?
No, I got was it Tampa Toy and Comic Expo in June, and then Charlie Con the very next day. Charlie Comic Con Horror and Sci-Fi. That's the theme for the convention.
Okay.
And
Seems like a pretty broad theme.
yeah. And don't tell anybody, but I'm actually doing some artwork for it.
I didn't know you could draw.
Nice.
I fake it really well.
You do, I guess. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same thing when they told me Tim
I've
could write.
convinced
Like,
several people.
whatever.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's what we have going on. And we'll get into tonight's subject, which is character design. So just opening it up here, that first question. How important is the costume and visual appearance? It turned into Max Headroom again. Yeah. But I actually took notes this time, so we have questions to go off of. But how important is the costume and visual appearance of a character in defining their personality and motivations? I definitely think
you can field this one.
So back in like the golden age of comics, not even that far back, like for the silver age of comics, this leads up to what I'm going to say. Did you know that the reason why particular heroes and villains were certain colors is because they couldn't get the printing right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, we don't have that problem now with digital printing being the way it is and digital colors and art, because back in the day you had to color a different way, like traditionally. But you don't have that now. More, to me anyway, more the importance is to have a nice silhouette. Like a silhouette that when you look at, like if you look at Howard, if you know Howard the Duck and you see the silhouette, you know it's going to be Howard the Duck. You know what I mean? Or
Could be Daffy Duck.
Daffy Duck, Wolverine. If you see the silhouette of Wolverine, you're going to know it's Wolverine because of his silhouette.
Could be the Beast.
It can't be the Beast. You should keep your mouth quiet.
Shut up, Aaron. Quit contradicting me.
I know, right?
I don't know. I'd say, I guess maybe superheroes, yes, with other sci-fi stuff. I mean, I'm thinking like, how important is the costume to like Luke Skywalker?
Right.
I don't know. He changed his clothes. I think it's more the person, but that's a live action show, so maybe a cartoon's different. I would say, I think the more iconic the characters, this is maybe a weird segue. I think as you go more towards the cartoon side of comics, more like iconic costumes matter, a little more simplistic because they're more like iconic if they are like. And if you go more realistic, the costumes, yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes like Darth Vader, you can maybe. Well, I guess Darth Vader, but I mean, you had Anakin Skywalker for the first 3 movies, and that was Darth Vader.
So, are you telling me that if Darth Vader walked around in a yellow, Sith thermal suit and whatnot, that he would be just as menacing as him being in black? That's a costume design choice.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he would be just as menacing.
Okay. Kick him out the.
No, but I mean,
it
seems like the more simply drawn the character, the more. I'm trying to think of an example.
Like with capes or anything like that, where the more, not one-dimensional, but the more like focused on a core feeling the character is. Like a lot of capes like that. A lot of like Darth Vader's. Is focused on this whole like idea of the Sith, right? The whole point of a Sith is to cause fear and gain power from that. Right. So the more focused you are on one core thing, I think having a really strong costume that represents that one, like your main focus.
It's like Judge Dredd is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
He's always wearing that iconic costume, the judge's uniform, which is that sort of the icon of justice. Batman would be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you go to Marvel Girl, this Marvel Girl's costume really signify from the X-Men Marvel Girl.
Rachel Grey.
Jean Grey?
Yeah. It depends because if it's her
costume Stark
now,
Phoenix,
like
maybe.
the trench coat, or are you talking about like her costume she had when she was a Hound, which was like just basically
that was Rachel
with the spike. I know.
Well, they're both Marvel Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what Tim said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's
I actually liked her Hound costume better.
Oh, her Hound costume is my favorite. Down pat.
Yeah.
I think as you get more realistic, you could change clothes more about the core character. But I think as you go towards like Charlie Brown, you can't really see him drawn any other way. Like Bugs Bunny and stuff, the way they're drawn. But I think costumes and clothes, a lot of them are kind of naked, aren't they? I don't know. It just seems like the simpler the drawing, the more iconic.
I think there's some things where like, simpler drawing, or if it's a character where it's built so much around an idea that you give the costume to make that, as tied to it as possible. Like it's hard to think of Captain America without the giant Puerto Rican flag on his shirt and the shield.
Yeah. It is a Puerto Rican flag. It is. But I mean, like, if you think of all the costumes in the 90s, like, those costumes don't really match anything. Like, all the image is like, no, they don't really.
But then there's some characters where they make the character, but the costume is associated with them for so long that then you get that tie to it later on.
Like Superman. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, or something like, Alex Stoss.
Yeah.
Simplify heck out and just draw it. Exactly. But
I think there is something about simplicity to how that works.
Like, I mean, speaking of someone who's written a cape and a realistic comic like Wolf Hunter, you don't really have, well, this one does have costumes, but not in the sense, but it's costumes as in spy costumes.
Yeah.
But you don't really have people running around in like flags and stuff.
Wait, but Wolf Hunter they don't have any capes in there? That's why
no,
with your stuff, dude.
We do have a lot of
And he likes to draw people who like fly around in airplanes and stuff.
Yeah.
Whee!
yeah.
Right.
So for that, I guess the iconic part of the character design was trying to give him like the Tom Cruise chin, right? You want to be able to like a clear cut, like dude.
All of them are like they're lighting their matches on their chins, like lighting,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Like
going to
Bruce
Soul
Campbell
Ascendant,
chin.
wherever. But then going to Soul Ascendant, where everything is based heavily in Roman mythology and needs to stay there.
Yeah.
So you had to give things like so like everything is very clear. Like this dude wears like a space like version of Roman Imperial Lorca Segmentatum, and has just giant solar like flames coming out of his like what would be like his horse plume.
Yeah.
Like this is very clearly Roman sun god.
Right.
There, it's funny. I was thinking with the costumes. I mean, the costumes also maybe kind of dictate a little bit by the environment. Like I kept thinking about the Crow. The Crow
Oh,
is
yeah.
gothic,
Mhm.
and you can't really. But again, is the Crow costume a reference of his personality, who he is, or is the fact that he's in a gothic type world? I mean, that could be almost argued a little bit with Batman, a little bit. That maybe
Yeah.
the costume just works with the world to a degree. But I was thinking just like far as like set of costumes, just regular clothes too. When the characters wear certain regular clothes, that because I mean you could basically say that the clothes the Crow wears either in the movie or the comic book is his costume, even though it's just clothes, but it signifies his mood and temperament.
Right.
I would think.
And the violence, just like
Yeah,
sheer violence to himself,
especially in
and
the
whatnot.
book.
Yeah, because like half his costume is freaking duct tape or electrical tape.
Yeah.
Like freaking
Just
in the
kinda put
book, he's
together.
sitting there, but there's a whole like macabre dance that he's doing while he's taping his arm and up and whatnot.
Right. I mean, even at the end of the book when he's carving things into his chest, like the crown of thorns and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one that I think if superheroes work. So I'm trying to think of like manga and other certain
I think
genres.
in
Where
manga
the
and stuff, like,
costumes.
it's like well, depending on the genre, it can be like incredibly important. Like
Yeah.
anything shonen related, costume is going to be like so important. It's like so important. I love that Cape Town described as. I love that the guy in Cape Town described as Batman with a crappy apartment. Yes.
I told him not to write that about me.
But yeah, I think depending on the genre, like slice of life, probably not so much. And some like
No.
later stuff. But if you're going like shonen, like Bleach, Naruto, anything like that, the costume, you do not have Rock Lee without the green turtleneck and.
That is a good
Yeah.
question. Infrafan asked, "Do you think Batman could ever get his blue and gray in live action?" Because he meant the right live, or does
Yeah.
it only work in a drawing? All the movies have done. The only one that did the blue and gray was the original 1966 Batman show, and it was goofy. Could you? Because all the
Shane
ones in the
Robin was
movies have
bummed.
pretty much been black.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Well, wait, was the one in the Batman
So
vs Superman Zack Snyder was that
Batfleck,
kind of gray a little
the
bit?
one with Ben Affleck, that's
Was a little gray.
gray, that's gray and black.
Gray and black, so
Yeah.
the gray and blue. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it. I don't know. I think
don't know.
oddly enough, I think you might see like the all white like Azrael armor before we see the blue and gray.
Man, the all white Azrael with the armor of Dumas is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
like such a great design.
It's funny too because I think of Batman. It was only the original Tim Burton one that did the yellow bat insignia. All the other ones just did the black bat thing into the chest.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where like in like I mean the idea of making things striking, right? With comics, I mean we have digital printing now and have for a little bit, but it's like it took a while for technology to get to this point, and then once it did, it's exploded beyond. Like we went from no TV screens to 8K in a relatively short amount of time.
Oh yeah, actually, I mean, what are you talking about? TVs came into the scene in what?
Yeah,
the 50s, 60s,
and you can think of like kind of a similar like timeline for digital printing, the little shorter. So what they can do to make something striking in print, like well, we're going to give it like a bright contrasting color in this. Whereas by that point on TV, you're like, well, we have such deep range of blacks that we could do. We could have like 3 different blacks sit on top of each other, and they're going to look differently. So we can make that.
See them.
Yeah, and compared to normal people around that, that'll probably look the most striking visually.
I know the one color that I've heard is hardest to get on screen and make it look convincing or good is red. Like they did Hellboy and stuff, but I've heard that's why I think Hellboy. I thought the Hellboy costume looked great, but it's usually the reds are very muted or whatever.
Yeah, reds, and I think also another reason why they avoid yellows is yellows. Not so much, well, kind of when it comes to filming, but when you're putting yellow on a subject, yellow is the worst color to paint on anything. It
just overpowers everything. It's just
yeah, and also no company mixes a good yellow pigment.
Yeah, and if you try and dilute it or dye it down and whatnot, it just looks muddy.
Yeah, or it just turns into like if you put like a little bit of like medium in it, it turns into like an ink, and you're like, well, this is useless now.
It's funny. Speaking of character design, getting away from the costumes, when I focus on my characters, I focus less on the costumes and more how I draw them. And strangely enough, I focus more on drawing different noses, not so much eyes, a little bit, faces a little bit, but different noses. I don't know why, but I was thinking like when you think of the Bone comic, those characters are drawn so distinctly that the way they're drawing is their personality.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few other, like the video games Ratchet and Clank, thinking of those type of characters where the costumes aren't important, but the way they're drawn is.
Yeah.
I've actually never played that game.
Really?
They're super fun games. So.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not actually looking at my bookcase. I can see Hellboy in the way his clothes are and stuff, that it would signify a detective, especially in the comics. His belt, that he has all those charms hanging off it, the sort of supernatural charms. I think I always liked that because it looked like a sort of him carrying around like a paranormal like survival kit or something. Like I always thought that was an interesting idea. I always liked that.
It reminds me of Benny from The Mummy.
Oh yeah.
Just because like he was pulling out charms or whatnot, like trying to get
work or whatever.
Right.
Well, they actually did that in the original Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves when he first was like exercising that demon.
Oh yeah, because he was holding it up to the light to see if it.
And then the one that hit it was that he could figure out, which I actually thought was kind of cool because every time I've seen shows on TV where they're like talking about demons or ghosts or whatever, the reality shows, they always just assume they are demons from the Christian mythology. And I'm like, how do you know? Maybe they're from the Shinto mythology, or maybe they're from Hindu. I don't know if Buddhism has demons, but I mean, they could be Hindu or some other mythologies. And like, I just wait, like, the power of Christ compels you, and nothing happens. Like, oh, wrong demon. So I thought that was kind of cool in Constantine that he didn't know, so he had to like figure out which sort of deities or gods he was part of. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's just like whenever Sandman deals with like one of the Constantines and goes in their stuff, wherever, where they're like you have like either younger Constantine, Lady Constantine trying to like do something, and Sandman's like, no, actually, this is this from this plane. Yeah. It's like
I know they're doing another Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves.
Yes. Who do you think has evolved for the better from the original designs?
I actually Wonder Woman. I actually think obviously you can see behind me, I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan, but I think the new version with like the sort of Greek the greaves on her shins, and then like the sort of dress, the Greek dress and stuff, fantastic. I'm glad they got away from the American flag thing, because I know when that was originally designed, it was supposed to be like this American icon, and then George Perez came in and tried to retcon why she would wear that. He did an okay job with it, but it never made sense. Like just somebody who comes from an island where they've never had a man on their island just happens to nail the American flag in one go. Right. Like I'm glad they changed that up to reflect more of her Greek origins than whatever her original intention was behind that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that's, but even though both my posters show her in her original uniform, I do like the the more updated look. I think that fits her character much better.
Yeah. I'd say oddly enough, I think Scott Summers, because like, as much as I love like random tactical pouches everywhere, him being a weird giant dude with the eye cannon, where he's always had martial arts training, but he's never been described as being excessively strong. So I thought, that looks cool to have him be beefy, but when you compare that, like, you have Wolverine and Colossus on the team, who are like the powerhouses.
Yeah.
So like now, say what you will about the Giant X like flight suit that he wears, but the him being a taller, leaner looking guy, where it looks like
I think will look better.
Yeah, he looks like someone who knows jujitsu and can run a lot, but he's not going to overpower.
I always liked it and I think Scott they never done this, but I always thought Scott will look better as a more skinnier guy.
Yeah,
because it would accentuate the fact that he's like a walking powerhouse in his eyes.
Exactly.
He doesn't need to be anything else, It's just like the way they do with Xavier. Xavier's in a wheelchair to underestimate him. But he's
Not
like
now. Now he's like freaking that is dome.
Yeah, I know. But back in the day when he was in the wheelchair,
now he floats.
I'm not a big fan of some of the new X-Men designs. I know Tim is, but then again, we can't account for taste.
Well, there's some that are weird, but there's some that I like. Like the new Black Tom Cassidy. 10
I know it's weird that they brought him back. Batman, he hasn't really changed. I actually liked Superman better when they got rid of the trunks. I don't know why. I've always liked Superman's costume when they actually lean in more to a sci-fi design of his costume than a superhero.
Yeah.
Well, the Zack Snyder movies did that, and some of the comics did that. Where it was like more like weird striping on the legs or whatever, just very subtle, thinking it's more of like a science fiction, like a sci-fi uniform on a crew, because it's supposed to be like a uniform from his race. So I'm like, okay, that to me was better. No. Batman again. They've had so many iterations of his costume.
I like that they showed Batman has a suit for like almost every
occasion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think my favorite Batman costume is actually Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah. I think it was just so cool because since it was accentuating some of the Sherlock Holmes, tropes with the coat, the certain type of coat and stuff, that it mixed like Sherlock Holmes with Batman, and kind of in the costume almost accentuated his detective part. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I know they made Gotham by Gaslight the animated movie, which I haven't seen yet. I should probably watch. I read the book. I think I still have the book.
It's
somewhere.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But I've heard they're doing another one. Now I don't know if they ever did a sequel to the Gotham by Gaslight comic. I don't remember. If they have, then I must have missed it. But they're doing another movie with him in that same Victorian era, which I'm like, cool. Just do a whole movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. I just saw a trailer for it. It's not out yet.
Yeah, I know. I think it flips back and forth because you can see pictures of him like in the trailer. You see part of him like in his regular costume, and then you see part of him in the Gotham by Gaslight costume.
Strangely enough, the collar makes him more mysterious.
It's a storyline I've never read, so I'm actually
I think it's made up either for the movie or
my first introduced to that costume and also the arc, because I didn't read the arc when it came out, but a while ago, it's dead now, unfortunately. But DC had put out a MOBA game to compete with League of Legends called DC's Infinite Crisis.
Okay, did they put him in there?
Yeah, he was in there as a skin you could buy. Yeah, so
did they ever put his uniform in any of the Arkham games? I
don't think so.
I mean, that would be cool to put that one in there. It's funny that he mentions the collar, because when you're thinking of the collar, because he has that high collar, they kind of did a little bit in that new Batman movie that came out. He had like a kind of a higher collar around the cape, not as high as the other one. I've actually tried to watch the new Batman movie a few times, and I don't know, it doesn't hit me as my favorite Batman movie. I think is still Batman Begins by Christopher Nolan. I don't know, for some reason I liked how he built. I liked that one. This new one's okay, but I did like that costume aspect. That sort of.
So I was entertained by the newer Batman. I just don't understand why they didn't call it Long Halloween.
Right. Yeah. I like it, but it should have been Long Halloween. But get that like they're building into Batman year, because this is year 2, right? So I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think they
believe so.
should
Yeah.
give up on the whole year 1, year 2 thing. And the
Yeah.
only reason I think they should give up on that is just because I think that's more nuanced towards the comics community. The general people who see it just think Batman's Batman.
I was saying,
Like,
that's what I thought. I like the idea that they didn't do the origin story. The idea that, like, Batman, his parents died.
Right. But Batman's
Right.
supposed to be smart. There was, especially when they tell them about, like, the Penguin, helps him figure out a clue. Like, that always bothered me. I'm like, and the people are like, yeah, but this was Batman's first year. And I'm like, yeah, but the general populace is not going to be like sitting there going watch a movie going like, yeah, this is Batman's first year. I understand. I know they're going to be like, is Batman dumb in this movie? That's what they're going to think. So
Sure.
they never really accentuated, like, even like in the movie, if they would have had like a news report saying like there's been recent sightings of somebody in a bat costume, but they never said it was his first year or second year.
Right.
There was no news reports hinting that he just appeared on the scene. As far as we knew, he'd been doing this for a good few years. And so to make him look stupid in scenes, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's why people are like, well, it's only his first year on the job or second year. And I'm like, yeah, but this guy's been training his whole life.
Right.
It's not like he just, so there was a lot of things about that movie where I really tried to like it.
Yeah. I have my own internal headcanon, which I don't know if will happen, but it'll make things make more sense to me if this is what happens, where my original fan theory of Batman being used by the Court of Owls to be town, essentially.
Yeah.
With him being this kind of strung along by certain people, I still think it makes sense as part of a 3-movie arc or something where end of movie 2, we find out that Batman's been manipulated into doing this whole thing by someone else.
Yeah.
And in movie 3 is him going after the court because he detective his way into essentially doing their dirty work.
Right.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of it I liked. And like I said, there's one guy that pointed out like the most obvious flaw in the movie, and to this day I still cannot unsee it. And I wish he would never pointed it out. It was somebody took a snapshot of like Falcone or that girl he was looking for in front of the nightclub, and the guy said like, "Well, any good detective would try to figure out where that photograph was taken from, and if they would have went to the place that photograph was taken from, they would have found the Riddler's apartment like that." And I'm like, and ever since he pointed that out, I'm like, that is like Detective 101. So I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I can't oversee that.
Well,
he's too busy loading a jet engine into a Challenger, making it.
I know. Well, yeah, of course, he's got things to do. I mean, I'm not stupid. But anybody who's on a crime scene is going to try to figure out if there's any photos taken that they've gotten, like where that photo was taken, because that leaves the clue. So I was surprised he just never even thought of that. So I was like, okay, whatever. He still actually played a cool Batman. I mean, he was quiet and intimidating. I was still kind of. I watched the scene where the bomb blew up in his face. I'm still kind of amazed his jaw made it.
Yeah.
Like I would have just like, wouldn't that just like blown away the bottom part of his? Well, it actually in real life it would have basically liquefied his insides and killed him instantly. But he has armor on. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. Not at that distance. It's not gonna do anything. So
that's a comic movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's if Batman can shoot himself out of his jet going 90 miles per hour on a bobsled, grapple onto a light post, to sling himself onto a road and not break every bone in his body.
Was that in the third Batman? The Batman
that was in one of the newer comics.
The newer
yeah.
It's I don't know. It's a comic book movie. I think sometimes why Christopher Nolan played it pretty straight in his movies, but there's still a lot of stuff that he could. I mean, he fell out the window and he grabbed the girl and was like trying not to fall and he hit the car and he was like, "But I got armor on, so I'm okay." I'm like, "No, you would have died." I don't know why people keep thinking if you have armor you're impenetrable. It's like
because game logic.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't work. You're still getting the impact of the shock.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. But I mean, one person said something to me in that movie that I always wondered ever since, and I never thought of it. He's like, yeah, after he runs out the window, saves Rachel, they're like, what happened? What did Joker do back at the party? And I was always like, yeah, what did he do? He was sitting there with all his thugs and everything at the party. Did he like leave? Did he kill people? And what did he do?
He robbed him and ate hors d'oeuvres.
Maybe that's what I was like, oh yeah, you know.
I was just joking. We don't even rob them. We have to start eating hors d'oeuvres. I'm like, all right, go about your business. I'm just going to hang here.
The Batman, the anime Batman with the collar, yeah, that was a cool. I
Yeah.
like the anime Batman movie. Was just so goofy you couldn't take it seriously, and it was
Well,
great.
Which one?
the
The Japanese one?
The Japanese
Yeah.
one, yeah,
the X-Men anime was rad, but also they had some really good costumes there too.
they did have some good
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, that was the. It's funny. I've watched parts of that and stuff. I can never really keep my attention, but the action scenes in that, the storylines, okay, but the action scenes are top notch. I mean, the
Mhm.
action scenes when they had the cut loose, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least he didn't fall from space and live. It was you referred to Superman.
Yes. Okay, let's get back on topic here. Got another question for us. So how do you here you go. How do you either as an artist collaborate with a writer or as a writer collaborate with an artist and your editor to bring the vision for a character to life on a comic book?
How do I did? Well, let me try to think how
Yeah.
I designed my newest character that knocked the barbarian character. I can see now. When I design my characters, I usually design the first iteration. So in other words, I don't do multiple iterations of a character. I usually think about it for a day or two, visualize the character in my head, then draw it. Usually the first time is one I stick with. In fact, the first images, a lot of my characters are in the books. Like the first drawings I did of them are in the books. Knocked was that way. I kind of had an idea what I wanted for this mask, and then I knew he was inspired by a character called Dark Wolf from Fire and Ice, the Ralph Bakshi Fire and Ice movie. And so I kind of just designed his character and then go for it. The reason why I do that is sometimes I feel when people design a character and then refine it multiple times, it becomes more generic and you start to lose that sort of impetus or originality that was in that character in the first place, if that makes sense.
Brandon's moment in recent comics where Batman survived re-entry.
Oh, did he actually? Okay, did he? Oh.
I'm gonna say it. Batman's a mutant. That's
He is. I don't know. I mean, I designed, but these are my own characters. But I just kind of go with my first iteration because I always feel that because like the reason is every time I've watched concept art from any other movies, the concept art, the original one, is always 1,000 times better than usually what they end up with, especially in Star Wars. The old Ralph McQuarrie stuff was so much better than the Star Wars designs I have now, in my opinion. I thought they were awesome. And so I've had that so many times where people have done. Me and my friend have looked at the original designs like, well, these are awesome. Why didn't they go with these? And then they have to redesign it, and then you end up with like, okay, yeah.
I kind of come back to that Star Wars the character thing. I don't know if you ever heard about George Lucas's original designs for the characters, but did you see the comic that they made where they used the original storyline for Episode 4 with the designs?
I think like Chewbacca was like a green, like alien or whatever.
Alien. Han Solo had a fish head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not those designs, but like the old Ralph McQuarrie. When they show like when I've seen a lot of like Sid Mead's and Mobius's original designs for characters back in the day, usually the first few are like because there's that sense of like play or character. And for some odd reason, the more they refine it, the more they tend to lose it. I don't know why. I mean, this is my own personal opinion, so I am definitely the minority in this whole concept.
So what do you think is the most important idea to convey when designing a character? Environment, emotion, powers, etc. We'll come back to this one for Vanton.
To me, it's always a silhouette.
We'll pin this and we'll come back to it. I'll get Jose's answer to the other question, and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah, Jose, answer something. Great drawing. Just put the pen down.
I don't know if I can.
Drawing makes me sane.
What was the question?
How do you as an artist collaborate with a writer and editor to bring the vision for a character to life in a comic book?
I don't like writers. I don't like them at all. No. I don't think I've ever actually had to do that, to be honest with you. Like depending on like the inking stuff I've done, a couple things I've had to like not had to, but like with one of the characters from Obsoletes, I hit Aaron, I was like, hey, do you care if I half tone this girl's hair instead of just making it black like the other dude's hair was black? Like, can I half tone that and just to give it like different a different field and whatnot. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I guess so. But, next
Oh, I
time
don't care. Yeah.
I want the request in triplicate." So
Yeah. But you never had a moment where you got something like send a note back like, what do you think about this?
I haven't
I've
really had
never,
to. Yeah.
you know, when I designed the stuff for the obsoletes, he just was like, "Yeah, go for it." So I didn't get any
Nice.
pushback on that. But most of the stuff I design is for me, and when I
Mhm.
design stuff for me, I know what I want. I know what I'm going for because I've
Right.
thought about it. I've
So
visioned these characters in my head, so I know I'm translating what's in my head on paper. I'm not exploring the character. I start out with very much the idea of what I want behind them. Like my original character from Golly's Boomer, he's a living lightning bolt. Well, okay, he's a jagged character. He's blue because beam of light is actually blue, not yellow. Um, and so I just kind of started, playing with like sharp edges, and then I just knew his costume. So very rarely, because people have asked like, do you have character design sheets, that stuff that you explore? And I'm like, not really. I mean, maybe a few
right.
here and there where I've done like two sketches, but generally I don't. I usually go straight on the page.
Yeah.
See, and I had a friend
Yeah.
ask me to help them with the design of his character. Like he already had like he's like they have a gladiator helmet on, and they have like this cloak that goes around them, and almost like this wire kind of anime style halo behind him, like this big ring behind him. And from there, like everything else, I pretty much created on my own. Like I created what his sword looked like. It's supposed to be like an angelic sword or something like that. I created
Yeah.
that, and like I created the design of like the shoulder gauntlet that he had. He told me the one, he had like I said, gladiator armor, so he had the one shoulder like strap, right? And so I got to design like the style of it and just the kind of pants and clothing. I kind of gave pants like Majambu. You know what I mean? It has like
Yeah.
they're tight around the waist and tight around the feet, and then they kind of like flow a little bit because the way I envisioned it, like it's moving and fighting and whatnot. That's gonna add some really nice like flow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And but yeah, that's like really the only thing I've ever really helped to design stuff.
Okay.
Anything for my own stuff, nobody has said anything to me because most people haven't seen the stuff I've done for me.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that I think that's the one time I actually helped someone design for me. He actually liked like everything I put into it. I'm like, oh wow,
Nice.
like I expected. No, I don't like this. I don't like
Right.
that. But no, he actually dug it.
I'd say as a writer, I'm not the one designing my own characters. So create the like I know what their personality is and all that stuff, and I'll create like in my mental picture. This is what I see. So, but I like to have my artists, if I'm collaborating with them, feel like they have more ownership in the comic and the characters. So I can to like know that they have like been also part of the creation process. That way, it also encourages them to finish the book. But when I'm like sending character notes forward to the artist to do the design, I try to give as much detail without dictating their reaction as possible.
Yeah.
So with creating Invictus, my notes were tall and athletic, but not overtly muscular, like not broad. Wearing a science fiction scaffold armor version of Roman Centurion armor with a like full enclosed space version helmet of the Centurion helmet with the plume being made of solar flames, carrying a flaming solar spear. Kind of things where like it's enough that you can get a mental picture of it, but that picture is probably going to be different in Aaron's head and different than it is in Jose's head.
Right.
Well, I would just
And
draw
then
it
you
really-
tell them if you get it wrong, I will destroy you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But is this one of the things where like you get enough details and like they're going to get the character like essentially how you'd want it to look like, but it's going to be something that like is their own unique spin on it, it's its own take on it. And then you can just pass notes back and forth. But I've never actually had to send a note back because of just as a writer, including as much detail as you can, but not trying to dictate your artist's life for them because your artist is a collaborator. They're going to do their thing.
Yeah.
And it's also really helpful when your artist also sends like several sketches back. So when you're creating like their day wear when they're not in Roman god space fighting armor, is like what do they wear day to day, and like they sent back like 6 sketches of different Dayware options for Invictus that were all like, all of them were good, but there's like 2 of them are like, this is you read the character's mind and know exactly what you're looking at.
Right. There was a for when I was in art school, I had to do multiple character designs of a character, and usually it was always the first one I liked the most. I don't know why. Yeah. So, but just because I know. But again, if I was designing for other people, maybe I go to other iterations or whatever. I'm just the kind of person like I just want to get in and draw the story. I'm more focused on the story and stuff. So.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, my barbarian, I gave him flowing orange hair, which I think is sort of his iconic trait behind him and his mask. So,
And his hook.
his hook, which is actually on a chain, so that's actually a weapon and stuff. So he's kind of half pirate, but
yeah. That's all right. So we'll go back to friends' question. So what do you think is the most important idea to convey when designing a character? Environment, emotion, powers? So when you're creating the design, what is the most important idea that the design should essentially represent? I think it depends on the type of story you're telling.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're doing something that's like more artful, like you're trying to be more like metaphorical with it, I'd probably say emotion. Like the emotion behind it. But like if we're doing like a classic cape or something like that, powers like. Hyperion is a good example of that. Dude just has a giant nuclear symbol on his waist.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually interesting because we talked about earlier with like the crow. His costume almost more so represents the environment than it does who he is at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I designed it, my character is in like a Halloween type world, so horror, but more Halloween type horror, bats, mummies, vampires, but the classic sort of designs are my take on them. So I wanted him to have not a horror, but a little bit of a different. So I gave him the mask with the glowing green eyes, and like the red hair, the orange hair was because orange is such a Halloween color. So that was more. I designed his costume more in light of the environment, at least in that one that he was in.
Okay.
So. Jose has no answer.
No, I'm thinking.
He's in his mind palace.
He's thinking.
That's right.
So you play the Jeopardy music?
I think that like it had to be a combo because the environment that you want to tell your story in should help denote the type of like silhouette, the type of costume, the type of like attire that your hero or character should be in. I mean, you don't want to see like Captain Cold's costume in like a desert. You know what I mean? In a desert scenario.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that's kind of an extreme example, but you want. So let's say like was it the Scorpion King, right? With the Rock, like he obviously had a very like deserts accommodating attire, you know what I mean, with the visor that came down like for sandstorms and stuff like that, entirely different attire than say Legolas from friggin' Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean, not necessarily accustomed to the desert, more like woodsy, more, you know what I mean, so that his clothing, his armor, whatnot, fed to that, you know what I mean, or was fed by that, I guess. So I think it's kind of a combo.
Right. I think, it'll be a combination, and it'll just really depends on the type of story you're doing. And then, I mean, whenever your character also goes through important change, then usually that change is also represented somewhere in the visuals, in the costume. If they,
right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, go back to X-Men with the creation of Krakoa, all the X-Men got much more futuristic and also much more like militaristic looking costumes. The idea that they're all now like this hyper advanced nation of genetically the smartest and strongest people on the planet, and they're more or less in a cold war with the rest of the world, so they're going to look much more science fiction and much more militarily than they did before. So uh, I don't know. There's a ton of other examples for characters going through change and their costume changing along with it.
I like it when they were like outcasts and everyone was tougher than them and could kick their crap out of them.
Also, their Australian outback costumes were all just wearing like dungarees and
Right.
boonie hats.
Like freaking Gateway walking around in his freaking undies.
Yep.
Yeah. Is Gateway on the island? Is he even?
No, he's still vibing in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's one of the few portal systems that can get to Krakoa without being controlled by Krakoa.
Okay.
Normally to get to Krakoa, you have to go through a portal that only allows mints to go through, and the island is sentient enough that it blocks off other gateways to it.
Except for Kitty Pryde, I don't understand why I didn't let Kitty Pryde through. But I stopped reading X-Men, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I believe she had done something a little jank that messed with her DNA. But Gateway, because he does a unique form of portal, and it's created by a mutant that allows it to get through. So he's their backup plan to get off the island.
Whirligig.
Yeah. He actually it's a lot of use with X-Force because X-Force now is using the old sword station.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That shows you how long ago it's been Cyborg and Red X-Men.
Yeah, it's been a while. I started reading a little bit of I think I read the first 3 volumes of the Krakoa thing. This, of course, has been going way longer than I've been reading.
I need to catch up. I haven't read a comic in a while. I've been mostly reading novels. I know.
He admitted that on the air.
Yeah.
I know, right? Man,
Jeez,
ballsy move, Tim. Ballsy move.
I know. That's all right. People are allowed to. You don't need to read the comic every day. You can read multiple things.
Don't listen to this blasphemy.
Who are you?
Okay, and let's get to.
Don't hold it up against him, Hefe. He knows not what he does.
We already kind of answered some of these other questions, so we'll end up on this one. Can you discuss any influences from other forms of media, such as movies, TV shows, or video games, that either you have used in your comic work or that you have noticed in a design that you like of another person's work, essentially?
Well, I use a lot of designs of Joe Mad. I like his designs. And that would be Darksiders. I look at a lot of his stuff. Some Battle Chase is mostly Darksiders. But then again, like I said, I used Dark Wolf from Fire and Ice as an inspiration. I always liked that, which is Frank Frazetta. And I think Dark Wolf was supposed to be their movie's version of Death Dealer kind of character. As far as like my Gollings, I think I referenced a lot of the uniforms of like Alien Legion to kind of think of their uniforms. Yeah. I like that. Video games, I'm trying to think of Darksiders is one, but I'm trying to think of other.
I know for me, with Soul Ascendant, a mix of Mass Effect and a lot of Mass Effect. One character was straight up from Nier Automata. And, and a few other things like that. But just kind of sleeker science fiction looks, essentially.
Yeah. Not much from movies, comics. I have stole stuff from video games, but for that, the life of me right now, I can't think of. Besides Darksiders, I can't think of any other. Oh, Ratchet and Clank. I like a lot of the artwork from Ratchet and Clank, so I will reference that a lot.
There you go.
And then I do have a Mass Effect book, art of, because Dark Horse keeps putting out these art books. Some of those. Mass Effect, I actually used that in Golling's reference, mostly buildings, not so much character designs, but buildings.
Yeah.
And Ratchet and Clank, I usually use when I did my children's book. Roscoe, the alien wildlife photographer, I referenced the aliens in there because they're cartoony. So yeah.
Great book, by the way.
Oh, that Roscoe one?
Yeah.
I do like that book.
That book's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. Remember the old Lauren Green show where like he talked about wild animals and stuff like that. And it was like
Yeah.
it's like one of the first to me. It was one of the first nature shows. You know what I mean? And it reminds me of that.
Yeah, and like he's just like this bumbling.
Yeah.
Did you ever get the Miranda, the tour guide? Did you get that one as well, or I can't
No,
remember?
I didn't get that one yet.
That one's a little because it's like she takes his family through this fantasy land, and like halfway through they go to like a mermaid hair salon and they get their hair changed, and so like from then on their hair is changed, and they buy things because they're tourists. So they like by the end of the book they have like their T-shirts on and stuff they buy. So I actually keep track of the changes I go through that book. So yeah. But I get a lot of creature designs and stuff from Batch and Clank. Those artists are fantastic. I think the name of the studio is called Creature Box, but I'm not positive on that. I think there was a studio that works with them, and I don't know if they're the studio directly connected to Insomniac or a separate studio that just works with Insomniac. I'm not sure.
I like the when X-Men or Marvel in general went through Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Right. I remember like a couple of characters I created were like based off of the costumes from like that particular.
I always liked that design.
Universe,
Yeah. I always liked a lot of the character, especially the sort of newer characters they made for that series.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was trying to remember something. So our time frame in there. I'm trying to remember which character I designed, but there's one character that I designed which essentially was just Magneto as Joseph. My note was just like, I just want way too smiley, floating, lawn flowing hair. It's like the guy who's trying hard to be your best friend.
What book was this for? An older story?
This is an older one. I can't remember exactly what it was, but essentially that was the idea. Was that it's that same idea where like this guy's trying too hard, and why is his hair so perfect?
Flows just the right way.
Yeah. That's one of those things where like when you see it the first time, that kind of lives with you, especially after being exposed to Magneto for so long. There's like, I don't know how I feel about this.
You know, it's funny. Me and my friend talked about. We never could figure out certain muscular characters, and we never figured out why Magneto was so muscular. I always thought like the Magneto in the movies, Ian McKellen was more skinnier.
Yeah,
made more sense because you were like, this guy's a god. Why? I mean, his power basically means like he doesn't have to really touch anything. So why would he be like this? You know, and I think for a long time, I think they kind of drew. What?
I liked him during the trial of Magneto when he had that purple on.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, I think they used to draw him more skinny or older. It wasn't until Jim Lee where they started drawing him like this ripped powerhouse. I never quite got that completely.
Right. It made no sense, but I loved him in either the all white or the all black suit with the giant metal armbands, just sleeveless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just popping.
Like, I didn't understand that either. I was like, what?
That guy at every college party. Yes.
I liked his costume in freaking, like I said, Age of Apocalypse was I love that storyline. I think I traded an entire set of comics for that storyline just to make sure I had it all.
Well, they have a graphic novel that collects the whole thing, don't they?
So it collects.
But I mean, back then, because it was
several,
one of the big.
Right, there are several. There's the
there was the main
graphic novel. There's Astonishing X-Men graphic novel. You know what I mean? So I mean, I collected them all. Like I went out and friggin' got every single one of them when it came out.
Yeah.
It was probably next to Hyper Time. It was probably like the one other friggin' like storyline I actually collected everything like that and.
Floating a lot of hair, Smiley wants to be your friend that got every college party.
Right. But I collected all of them like that and War of the Gods, which was pretty cool because Wonder Woman died in it for a minute.
Remember there was this crazy comic, I don't know if you guys have read it. It was done in the 90s. It was called Battle Gods. And it was like an Aztec version of like Street Fighter where they had all these different characters and like some
As
big
an
fighting
Antarctic
tournament.
Press book.
What?
I'm pretty sure it was an Antarctic Press book.
I think it might have been. I remember I ended up. I wonder what happened. I had a graphic novel. I think I still have it out there somewhere.
I think I got the first one because wasn't the first one about the Jaguar? Like
Or something
Jaguar
like
Warrior?
that.
or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah. And then it was really cool. I ended up collecting them all, and I mean, there was only that one story. The artwork was really well done in it, and because I was in the fighting games, and that was the first one. I was like, well, this is really cool because it had that sort of fighting game motive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called Battle Gods. I don't know what I mean. Again, I think it was just that sort of. I think it was 12 issues or something, and then it was all done or something like that. But yeah, I think it might have been Antarctic. I can't remember. I had to look it up. I could probably just buy the graphic novel now. I think I still have it, but I don't know. I sold a bunch of my comics off like 2 long boxes off years ago because I went through my entire collection and took out what I wanted, and then got rid of a bunch of crap that I just didn't want anymore. And yeah.
See, I did that in the responsible way, in that I took what I wanted and then they donated the rest to the school library, so I can get other children in the addiction early.
Well, that's stupid. We should have. Well, why would you give it away to kids? What have those kids ever done for you?
That's drug dealer logic. The first one's always free.
Yeah.
First one's always free, man.
Yeah, we're getting in the schools.
Put all
Right.
these kids are running around scratching themselves. I need my fix.
Well, okay. Well, it's been a full hour, and I think we've been on topic pretty much the entire time. Is that a first?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Except, I
maybe.
think when it comes to is Tim going to mention the X-Men and is Aaron going to mention Appleseed? I think you've been winning that the past few shows.
I think we have.
What
What do you think about the character designs in Appleseed?
At all until just now.
Yeah, see, so I mentioned it's been a while. The character designs in Appleseed,
Yes.
they're very eclectic. I don't know. That's why I think I like them because they're so different, especially Brios. Because you're like, you finally figure out why he has these sort of rabbit ears. I mean, they eventually explain why in the book, but yeah, I mean, it's weird because they would change outfits so much and clothing so much, and they never had like an outfit of clothing.
Right.
So,
In 1 second, I just got an important question here. But yes, those it's almost unique, but also I really like the actual like mech design. It hits the universe aesthetic that a lot of like other stuff that like would have mechs does not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mech design, especially me and my friend Tom, the mech design in Appleseed was like the epitome of what we liked in design.
Yes.
The only other mech design that I really like, and it's completely opposite flip side, would be Evangelion.
Yes.
So
Which
I
they
did
weren't
not
really
like
mechs,
the
but-
mech designs for those.
Which one?
For Evangelion? Like
You didn't like 'em?
I was not a big fan of that. Like I tried to give it a good college try to watch through them. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so boring. I can't do this. But I did like the mech design. Well, not so much the mech, but the mech and the monsters for what was it? Dang it, I just drew a blank. The one, it was a movie. They were mechs.
No.
They're attacking robots, attacking Jaegers. No, Jaegers were the robots.
Is that Pacific Rim?
Pacific Rim, thank you.
Yes.
Man, if my son were awake, he'd just slap me in the face.
How about that? My phone rang.
That was his favorite movie for like the longest time.
Yeah.
Which
And
one?
Funny enough, he did Pacific Rim. I
Mm.
like the robot designs of Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. I like the monster designs of Pacific Rim.
Yes.
What was it? Pacific Rim: The Black is the animated thing. I really kind of wish that kept going. Yeah, it's Pacific
Yeah,
Rim.
they had one season of that, didn't they? It was just one
Yeah,
season.
2 seasons. It was 2 seasons.
I really
Or
there
like
was
half a
one.
season and another half a season, but like, and then it ended. Like, I was like, wait, no,
And
wait,
that was
what?
the only one where I think I actually kind of almost liked the second movie a little more than the first movie.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought it was a little.
but I like the character in this like friggin' post-apocalyptic situation. Like
Yeah.
the different characters, like the one girl that friggin' could shoot everything, and like the dude that
Right.
manipulated her. Like just like I like the character designs that they had, and so like I really wanted it to keep going, but nothing ever keeps going. Side note, Tim, I just got done watching Dragon Age Absolution.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
on.
like
How
that.
is that? Because I'm finished.
I actually thought it was really good. So I've also seen the Vox Machina season 2 or whatever up to date, right?
I need to catch up on that. But
And
yeah,
I
They
want
have a
more.
season 2
I
out.
want more Dragon Age.
Yeah.
They have a season 2 out.
There's a season 2 of Vox Machina, which is better than the season 1. It really is.
Because
Yeah.
I
But
watched half of season 1 and then I kind of lost interest in it.
yeah,
There's
season
a
2 is
season.
actually pretty cool.
That's what I hear. And also they got greenlit for a Mighty 9 series now.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah.
See,
Did you guys
I didn't follow a lot of the Vox Machina, but I followed all of Mighty 9.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And Marisha Ray is going to be boxing at Creator Clash, so that's going to be interesting.
Did you
yeah,
guys
isn't that
ever
like
watch
here in
the
Tampa,
Dota
right?
series?
Yeah.
That's here.
Did you guys ever watch the Dota Dragon's Blood series?
No, it's not been on my watch list
and
for forever.
Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud, but no. And one of my teachers helped put in on it. So
I actually am halfway through
sorry,
the second
Amy.
season, and I'm slowly going through it. I take forever to watch series because I get sidetracked.
I have to get to the point where I can either sit there and focus on it, or and it's a lot easier now that I actually got my second monitor up now, and I didn't have it up, and I missed it. But now that I have it up, I can multitask, right? I can put something on here and I can watch it out of my peripheral while I'm working.
Right, because a lot of those, like, if their cartoons are heavy in action, I have a hard time keeping track. So I watch a lot of dramas and stuff of people just talking because I don't have to watch you. But yeah, Dota, I'm making my way because I want to watch the Dragon Age one. But I watched Dota a few years ago and I didn't realize they ended the series. They finished the entire thing. So I'm like, oh, okay. I want to go back and watch that before I watch it because I played all the Dragon Age games.
Yes,
I never played any.
I never played Dota before.
They're on Game Pass, I think. So I may actually look into it. But like without ever playing the game, the characters in it were pretty cool.
Dragon Age is weird because each game plays drastically different.
And it's almost a storyline. It's not like Mass Effect where they're all interconnected. Dragon Age is really, you can kind of just can play any one by itself and pretty much not have any trouble following it.
I feel that I may have played Inquisition.
Well, you say
I
what?
think there's one, right? Inquisition. I think there's one called Inquisition. I may have played like, I don't even know, like an hour or so of that one, but I don't.
Inquisition was probably one of my favorite ones. Nobody liked Dragon Age 2. I didn't mind Dragon Age 2. The first one was, I mean, I think I played it so late that I missed the awe of what it was.
Right. It was definitely like it was going from traditional isometric RPGs to modern like action RPGs, but like blending its space really nicely was such a like.
Now it's hard to find any RPGs that are turn-based. So many of them are action-based, especially the Square Enix stuff. And they do it okay. I just got done playing that Valkyrie Elysium, which I never played the other Valkyrie games, so I know a lot of people didn't like this one.
Right.
But I thought it was fun, and I like the combat, but it's very much an action RPG. The new Final Fantasy VII Remake is very action orientated, which I can kind of take. There was part of me that kind of misses the turn-based stuff. That's what made this game unique.
I believe there's a setting you can put on to put it in that like that action timer that like 13 had, where it's like pseudo time-based.
I think there is options, and I think there's even an option in number 7 where you can actually have it like take more turns, like it freezes time. Where you can choose your turns more than have it be. There are options on it. But I mean, I know I have the Tales of one of the new Tales as Astria. I can't remember the new one, but the Tales games were they were one of the original ones to do straight up action orientated RPGs. The Tales.
Are you talking about like the Telltale games?
The Tales of like Landria. I can't remember the newest one, the Namco series, this Tales of Something.
Okay.
Mm.
They were always action based, so they have done them before, but not as much. I'm hoping if they make a Dragon Age anime and like it, they make a Mass Effect anime, because I know they did make one
Right.
cartoon special thing a long time ago, but I don't think it was
Uh-huh.
very good.
Yeah.
But I think you can do. I wonder if they're going to do that with the new Mass Effect game that they're supposedly making.
Right.
I'd be curious to see. I know the Cyberpunk anime series for that.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was really
The
well
one
done.
isn't it on Netflix?
Yes.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that either.
Don't watch it with your kids.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
told that same thing about Velma. So
Yeah. Well, Velma, you can just kind of skip altogether. It's because
well, I've already started watching it, but like
Yeah.
I watched because I wanted to know what
Yeah.
it was going to entail, and someone told me not to watch it because it had things my kids shouldn't see. So I waited till they went to school, and the very first episode definitely had that, and there's a couple
Yeah.
other things in throughout the other episodes, but the underlying mystery I actually think is kind of neat so far.
I said,
Like,
yeah, yes,
I can
it
blow
is-
past all the other crap until I
yeah,
for the mystery.
yeah. Velma's an interesting story, but it's done the impossible and it's unified the nation in agreeing that
I know.
it's not all.
It was funny
Right.
because even the sort of particular group they're catering to doesn't like it. Do they show like nudity and gore in the Velma series?
They show gore. They show
It
they
seems-
cost a lot, dropping F-bombs and whatnot. But
Okay.
the very first episode has them. The very first episode, very first scene or whatever is the girls in the shower in the
Yeah.
locker room and whatnot. And so they're naked. They show butt, but when you turn around to show top and whatnot, there's foam from the soap covering everything.
Mhm.
You know, it's funny. The Cyberpunk anime is really good. I didn't watch the Blade Runner series. I watched the second Blade Runner movie, and I think it came with two little. I don't know if they're animated shorts that kind of explained, that kind of tied the Blade Runner first movie,
Yeah.
second movie together. I'm one of those people, like, I didn't mind the second Blade Runner movie, but I completely agree that it never needed a sequel. That
Never did
series-
happen. It's actually kind of grown on me since then.
It has.
Yeah.
Um,
but Jared Leto is still a weird dude.
He is, and the Cyberpunk anime is really well done because you can watch it completely independent, but it actually I barely played the game, but now that I started the game last night to play it, and now, even though I've never played it, I have a little bit of a sense of this game from watching the anime,
Mhm.
like more of a sense of the world and people in the game. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty good.
So I never,
So-
for when Cyberpunk came out, I was like, oh, that's gonna be awesome. Like I played that before, right? And then I'm like,
Right.
wait, I didn't play that at all. What
Yeah,
I thought it
it's the one-
was Shadowrun.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
liked
Visual
Shadowrun.
Shadow. Yeah. I mean,
And I'm
so
surprised that's never really, even because I remember, that was one of the first that I remember big science fiction RPGs. Not saying that there weren't other science fiction, but it did take D&D and add a sci-fi twist to it.
Well,
And
before Shadowrun, there was it GURPS? GURPS came before
yeah.
Shadowrun.
yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
I remember one that when my friends played it, it was like the big one. It's like, oh, sci-fi and the old
Yeah,
punk.
Yeah.
But it was weird because they're like orcs and elves and stuff. So it was like,
and then
you
they
know,
have like
D&D in the
now they
future.
have several years back they came out with D20 Modern, which is basically D&D in modern day times. So you can have like
Yeah.
guns and armor and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite thing is actually I'm into is the the champion system, like the hero system that champions uses.
Yeah,
The idea that it's essentially it's a fluff agnostic system. You just create like all these keywords over there, like this is what your power or your item or whatever it
Yeah.
does, and then you can just flavor it as what you want. So we ended up with a character who is using all stuff that you could use to create, like, you know, what's it called?
this is how our brain works when it
I
gets
know it is. Yeah, this is how you get when oh yeah, I had a dude who made essentially a what's it called? Telepathic dude. Who used it's kind of like a psionic, but it's more like he kind of became the Braddock, the crazy older one,
okay.
who became Keen Avalon.
Jamie.
Yeah, where he was created puppet strings to control people and do stuff like that. In a game that's designed to, you create no fluff for that. It's giving all these things for people to make their own entire like mental fluff around it. So
Jeez.
yeah. It was really fun watching people just kind of like, oh, I see all these weird things that they do, and I have this weird idea that I have. I'm going to make it work.
You're right.
Yeah.
I feel that that's what GURPS was too. GURPS
Yeah.
let you pretty much do whatever you want. Like it took the principle that whatever role-playing system or whatever role-playing game you're playing, whatever storyline you want to run, you can throw in sci-fi with medieval fantasy with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Palladium tried to do that a lot with theirs, with like the Ninja Turtles, and you can not so much maybe as like the GURPS, but that you can mix and match any of the properties of Palladium, and they totally work with each other.
Palladium was GURPS, right? Didn't Palladium
Did
put out GURPS?
the GURPS turn into Palladium, or was GURPS Palladium? Because
No,
I remember.
I think Palladium was what put out GURPS. I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe. Tim.
I believe. Let me double check that.
Yeah, I'm curious now too. See what you find.
Right? How smart am I, Tim?
No, it's a separate thing. GURPS is one thing, and then Palladium has what they call the Palladium Fantasy Role-Playing Game.
Oh.
Yeah.
I am not that smart. I had to look it up. Maybe it's because I had a book.
I remember GURPS though.
Palladium.
I do remember the GURPS role-playing game. I don't think I played it, but I do remember hearing about it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's like it's come up, and you have friends who play it, but I've never touched it myself either.
Oh God, it ended years ago. I mean, you could still play the game if you want, but I mean, they quit putting out.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it
GURPS?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and I want to see the covers because I remember.
I think back at the time we were playing Warhammer Fantasy 2nd Edition.
GURPS basic set, because I'm trying to remember, because I always remember role-playing games from like the covers, and I do remember some of the GURPS.
Right.
Reign of Steel, I think I remember, because you can mix and match all sorts of stuff.
Palladium made Rifts.
Rifts, yes, they did.
Yes.
Which Rifts was kind. I mean,
GURPS is different. GURPS is, I was thinking Rifts.
Yeah. Rifts is one was like, you could just, since it was like this big thing, all these different.
You put everything
portals.
in
You
there.
can have fantasy, medieval, whatever in the Rifts universe, and just work. But yeah, the RPG, the Cyberpunk show was good. I thought there was another fantasy show coming out because some of the fantasy anime, I know there's a Lord of the Rings live action show which I have not watched. That Rings of Power yet. Which strangely enough, I'm never a big fan when people make these fantasy shows based on already existing properties. I'd rather they just make their own fantasy show. Well, I'm completely surprised. And I don't have to be like, oh, it's a precursor there, so that just make
It's very funny. My my game shop group, we play Middle Earth strategy battle game, the miniature war game. We all liked it. Really good. Like the story was middling. Like it was all right, but we really liked the character designs, and this gave us new fodder for minis. So it was like, we want the aesthetic in it. The aesthetic was really good.
That's usually kind of yeah. So
yeah. Let's see. It's been 1 second here, guys. All right. Well, it has actually been about an hour and 20, so we're coming up on our end time here. So we'll open the floor for last couple shout outs if anyone has wants to shout out their shows again coming up. We do have our Kickstarter. We can check in on that.
Yeah, that's for Fire Rush Cape Town.
Let's see here.
I have Midtown Comic Con in Salem, Oregon, June 3rd through the 4th, I think. Those are the dates. So a ways away. Yeah, that's it. Those are all shout outs that I can think of.
Yeah, like I said, I had Toy and Comic Expo, Tampa Toy and Comic Expo in June 3rd, and Charlie HorrorCon June 4th, and a couple. Like I said, I have one in May, SRQCon. It's actually one my daughter found.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
it's at one of the local libraries, and she's like, Dad, I want to go to this con. I was like, all right, well, if you found it, you're the one that's gonna have to get all the paperwork and whatnot so that we can fill it out.
Cool. All right. Well, it looks like you did get a new backer since the start of the show, so thank you, whoever that was. Again, we have 18 more days. Cape Town #1 and Fire Rush 1 through 3. So the end of Fire Rush and the start of a new series, and Cape Town is pretty fun, I will say. So, yeah, if you're looking to check out some new comics, get on that, and we'll get them shipped to you shortly after the Kickstarter. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have no other things going on myself, but I will probably be at the Salem convention as well, just handing out.
If Aaron is tabling at that convention and you're going to be there,
Right.
who is going to be holding the camera so you can live feed you body slamming Aaron?
Just jumping over my
Yes.
table and body slamming into me.
Right? Spear
Yeah.
you across the table.
Yes.
Somebody needs to hold the camera for that, Tim. Just live
Just have
feed that
somebody
to
in
the
the
rest of
audience hold it,
Yeah.
so we can all laugh at it. Yeah.
Wait, we'll see. Or if I I know how their badges are working, but if Aaron can get an additional badge for his table and I'll work it, then we can just have someone walk by and I'll buy some Aaron on the table there.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to get 2 badges. I don't think I have anyone. I think it's just me going.
There you go.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll be your table bunny. I'll get in cosplay.
I'm getting cosplay.
Yeah.
Hey, I need my table bunnies. Gotta bring in the green.
Yep. All right. Well, this has been the Silverline Show on Tuesday. We'll be back next week. But be sure to check out Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday and Sunday, respectively.
So come back to us because we're awesome.
Yes, we're the better show. So we'll see you guys next week. And until that time,
Make my Silverline.
Make my Silverline.
I'm April Hunter. Make mine Silverline.
All right.